Now the building committee, Carl Goss. And while he's making his way up here, just a reminder again, this is the information session. You know, we'll do some questions, but they're going to have little meetings in between to answer questions. This is mainly a presentation of the information. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on it, and we're not going to vote on it today. So this is an overview explanation of what they've come up with, and then we're going to have little cottage meetings and other things during the following weeks for everybody to come and ask their questions and have more of a one-on-one time with this. Okay? Carl?
Thank you. Margaret, can you hear me? Okay. When you entered today, you should have received a piece of paper called the Building Committee presentation. I'm not going to read it, but I will go through this as my outline. First, a little bit of background. You voted for and nominated a building committee. We've been in place in position since January of 2020, our first meeting. Our members are Bob and Meg, James, Mark, misspelled your last name, Brent, Margaret, myself, and Pastor is our fearless leader. And I want to commend the members of this group. They've given tirelessly through this entire process. As Greg said, our purpose today is just a report. We're going to share information, tell you what we've been up to, what we've done, what we haven't done, and that reemphasize, we're not giving you the answer today. This is going to take all of us to discern what's best for Christ the King Church. The steps that we have taken to date: meetings, and meetings. We've met in person, we've met on the phone, we've done video calls, and we have done every combination of the two or three. And it's been very well attended. Minutes been taken on each of the meetings so that we can look back and see what we've done. We've toured churches in the community: St. Joseph's Church, St. Paul Church, College Street Church, Farley Street Baptist Church. We've looked at land all around Ellis County. We've talked to brokers. We've looked at demographics, as we've shared with you before. We've looked at what the school district is forecasting. We've looked at church demographic information. Or we've just stopped and drove up and down 77, and you can see the growth that is taking place in our community. We plotted the location of every member of our church to see from a geographic concentration standpoint where we would best serve our church. We've researched building cost. We've identified a potential fundraiser. We've talked to architects. We've had an appraisal done of our church. We've had a college meeting last November. We've looked at and we've talked to people about financing, what financing is available to us. We've looked at the highway plans for 287. We've looked at zoning on this property and other properties in the area. And most importantly, we prayed, both individually and collectively, and we have felt your prayers and support over this last year and a half. As you can imagine, it has not been easy. When we formed the committee, I probably could have spelled COVID, but I had no idea what the impact was of what COVID would be and what to our church. Going from a vibrant, packed Sunday to no church on some Sundays, and and really understanding what was going to happen, what the future held for us was really eye-opening. And like I said, lots of prayers that have helped us. So those are the steps that we've taken. When you leave today, you're going to be getting two pieces of paper. The first is what we call our evaluation of options. We've narrowed down the options to three, as the pastor used in the sermon today, door 1, door 2, or door 3. And we think all of these are viable, or we wouldn't have put forth. Yes, at one time we had two other options. We had the do nothing option. We had the rent option. But we decided, narrow down our focus, look at the three options that best work for Christ the King. Kurt, if you want to change the slide. So this is our... Yes. while we wait. Annette asked me if I was nervous. I said, no. Yeah, this morning I was feeling good until I heard the pastor's sermon today.
I
And I was like, whew.
know. That made me nervous, too.
Yes, that's it. Thank you, Kurt. Yeah, staring down Goliath. I hadn't thought of it in that perspective until I saw that and heard that sermon this morning. So you'll be taking this home with you. And what we've done is we've outlined the three options, the major steps involved with each, the pros, the cons, the cost factors, and the timeline. And you'll be able to sit there and see over the next month, these options. And of course, we did not address everything. And we're looking for your feedback over the next couple of weeks. Did you think of this? Can we do this? But this is what we've sort of summarized in the best way that we saw to present it. The other option that you'll see, the third page. And again, you'll be able to take this home with you because as we all know, everything comes with a cost, right? There's a dollar sign with most everything that we do. And we are trying to put this in perspective for you. Just as you were, if you were looking at a house or purchasing a house or a car, you have to pay for it. And so following that same thought process, there you go. You'll be able to take this sheet home with you as well. And it puts in a sort of financial framework what each of these options mean, and then the potential impact to our congregation. And so, as you see there at the bottom, the number to keep in mind, we have 112 pledging units within Christ the King. And so a cost of $1 million of debt, very favorable financing right now, is about $55,000 per year. And so what that would mean to each pledging unit is an increase of $485 if we were to service that $1 million. And of course, part of this is going to come from what we hope is growth in our congregation. So it's not or we wouldn't be building this church or expanding this church if we weren't anticipating growth. So part of that is, should be shouldered by new members as we attract new members. Also, there's, the option of estate giving that, could help support this, these costs. But this just gives you a financial framework of the three options and what that would mean to us. Creativity is not one of my strengths, and so I was charged with naming these options. Stay with no land, stay and purchase land next door, sell and purchase new land and build. And just quickly, stay with no new land means that we expand on our existing site, that we extend the fellowship hall, that we add a sanctuary here. Part of the challenge with that, yes, sir. Yes, that would be a critical part of it. And we saw that with other churches that we visited, where they use like the steel frame, in order to get the clear spans, and then they dressed up as best that they could, with using wood and other building materials. But that would be all part of our analysis when we decide which plan to go. Right. That's it. We've roughly estimated for new construction $200 a square foot. And so that is, if we were to build, starting from scratch, about $200 a square foot. You're right. We've asked. We had a great conversation with the Texas CEF, which is a Lutheran-based financial arm that serve churches like us. And I tried to pin her down the best that I could. What are building costs? And because they're actually financing construction, and they're so inflated right now. Her advice would be not to immediately go sign a contract because of that high price. The expectation is that building costs will come down, and that may play into one of our options. And that, if we buy land now, maybe the building costs will have come down a little bit, retreated a little bit, because what's happening now is not sustainable. Good question. So, yeah, just simply stay with no new land means that we expand on this site. And yeah, that's the easiest, that's the cheapest thing for us to do. It is also a very short-term fix. This land site, we're about 3.5 acres. We would be pressed to do anything further before, once we add parking, once we add, just simple expansions, then we would be landlocked in essence. And so, we would have to be making a decision 5 or 10 years, depending upon growth, to relocate. Stay and purchase land next door. Land next door, we refer to as the Manley property. Everyone knows the property here to our east. It has the old colonial house to it. It's for sale. It's been for sale since we started this process. The asking price is $1.4 million. And that's about 4 acres, and from a net standpoint, it's about 3.4 acres. There's a portion of floodplain. There's pros and cons with the Manley property. It would allow us to stay here. We could expand, but there is an old house on the property. The land narrows greatly as it reaches towards Brown Street. There's floodplain associated with it, so that's why it's on a net acreage basis. And so you could sit there and say that would really help our visibility. It would allow us to stay here, but is that a good use, future use for the land? And then lastly, what we've looked at is sell and purchase new land and build new. And of course, that's the most expensive. And we've looked at sites north, we've looked at sites along 287, something that's visible, something within the new residential communities, but there's a big price tag associated with that. And so, we're weighing all of these options, and that's what we're seeking your feedback on. So, over the next 3 weeks, we have town hall meetings, realizing that this is probably not the greatest venue in which to ask a lot of questions. And so you can see there, starting on June 13th, immediately following the second service, building committee members will be available to ask your questions in a small group. And that's why we try to group it by your first letter of your last name. And so if you're A through G, you can come through next Sunday's meeting. H through N, we have a town hall meeting after the first service, or back on June 27th, O through Z. You're welcome to attend any of these, of course, if you're not, if it doesn't correspond with your travel or your availability. And also, we have availability to do, you can participate audio or by video, and if you just send an email to Bob, he'll take care of getting an invite to you. So that's it. I can still take a couple other questions. We have a voters meeting on July 11th, when we'll come back to the sanctuary and take a ballot vote on the option in which you would like us to pursue. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Yes, he was a wonderful gentleman. He was with the Pastor, what was the name of the organization? The Lutheran? Architectus. Yeah, they're the ones who did the courthouse for the county, and he's a Lutheran based up in Denton, and he's come down, drew out the plans for this particular site. Yes.
45 a year, we got down to 52 Sundays, that'd be like almost less than $10 a Sunday. So $1 million makes like looks big, but it's not really when you're breaking down to probably halfway over. Yeah, and it's not like 45 just once year, it could be 45 like 30 years.
That's correct. Yeah, good point. Anyone else with questions? If not, again, we're going to make ourselves available through town hall meetings. And again, if you want to just call or email any member of the committee, we're not going to give you the answers, as Pastor said. We're going to want everyone to discern for themselves what's best, what they see for the future of Christ the King Church. But like I said, I'm excited. We have a great team of people working on this, and looking forward to your feedback. Yeah. That's right. Thanks, Meg. Anyone else? That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Carl. And on behalf of everybody, thank you to all the building committee members. I know this is a lot of information to go through and put together, and we appreciate y'all doing that for us and condensing it into some forms for us to see.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Are we doing for his? Okay. Is there a motion to accept